Good afternoon. I know it's very tough to engage you guys after that heavy lunch. Okay? So let's do a small activity. Please stand up. Not kidding. Please stand up, everybody. I wanted to ask, can you guys stand up on the chairs? But that's okay. Okay. So I'm going to start with a couple of questions. Okay? I'm going to ask you a question. If you know the answer, you sit down. You don't shout the answer, but then you sit down. How many of you wrote your passwords on a post-it note? Nobody did? Oh, surprising. You have never written a password on a post-it note. Fantastic. The second question. Have you ever got logged out from your account? Like password lockout? Account logout? Yeah. Please sit down. Everybody is sitting. Come on. Not everybody. So almost everybody got logged out, right? And then the third question. Have you ever felt frustrated that your IT team has added so many security controls? Yeah? Yeah, see? Rise of hands. Rise of hands. There you go. Almost everybody. Almost everybody. Yeah? So yeah, that more or less tells how your experience has been, how the identity is being secured, and a lot more about it, right? And now, three takeaways. I think Darren has done fantastic job in sharing those analysis with us. Three takeaways from that is one, accurately assessing the security posture and risk is one of the priorities, right? It's like priority for 34% of the CISOs. And the second point is consolidating the solutions is one of the challenges that the companies are facing. And the third one is the experience part. Be it employee or be it the customers, whatever, the experience has always been the top second, if I'm not wrong, Darian. It's the top second priority in the changing digital world, right? So we're going to talk very much specific to that one today, okay? So even before that, a quick introduction. I think she did a great job in giving my introduction, but again, I want to give a very short introduction. I'm a principal solution engineer at Okta. I have about 17 years of experience. Those are my skills, negotiation skills, multitasking skills. I also gave the proofs. Why do I have those skills? And then my special interests are stand-up comedy, and then I take special interest in Indian mythology. Okay. Now moving forward, I did mention about the security, identity security, right? So if you look at this, identity security, whenever people start talking about identity, what's the first thing that comes into your mind? Identity. Anybody's identity, what's the first thing that comes into your mind? Name. Login box. Someone mentioned login box here, right? It's the login box that comes into your mind. But when you can actually control and then decide who should log in or who should not log in, and just in case if you will, it's a very secure resource. If you can step up the authentication by throwing a multi-factor authentication at it, why not have a mechanism to also identify even before the user is trying to sign in, find if the user is at risk? Let us say the user already logged in. How cool it would be if you can actually have controls till the user is having an active session, right? And that's what we'll talk about today. So identity security is beyond login box. It's before login, during login, and after login. Yeah? Would everybody agree with that? Just not the username and password, is it? All right. What's the importance of identity? Why are we talking so much about it? The definition of identity has changed quite a bit in the last few years. But if you look at this, identity is just not giving access to a resource to a person. It's just not that anymore. Identity is the fabric between the technologies that your companies are using and the people. People can be your employees or it could be your customers, right? So identity's definition has changed. So we know the importance of identity. We know that it has to be secure at three different phases. And what are companies doing about this? So what is stopping companies from solving all of these identity problems are three things. One, as you can see, there is rapid growth. There is rapid growth that is happening in the industry. But at the same time, to ensure your company is on the competitive edge, the business scale is what defines if your company is growing properly or not. And the second one is expectations of the experiences. Be it an employee or be it a customer, if they like the experience of logging in or accessing the resources or are probably accessing your website, only then they would be loyal to your brand. Would you agree with that? Yeah. So there are Gen Z employees who also are prioritizing, should I join this company or not, based on is there remote work or not, right? So they decide if there is no remote work, I'm not joining this company. That's what Gen Z is thinking about these days. So the experience has to be at its best to ensure you have right employees and giving them good experience. And the last one is IT security driving the brand equity. Only if your user feels his login experience is secure, he's going to come back to you, right? So it has become so important that these have become the revenue drivers for your company. And at the same time, the identity threats, the kind of threats that are there, are evolving rapidly, right? So these are all the challenges. We understand that the business trends are good, but at the same time, every trend has its own challenge. These are some scary numbers there. I'm just going to scare you away for a little bit. But if you look at this one, almost every cybersecurity threat or a cybersecurity incident that happened in recent times is either connected to a stolen credential, a credential abuse, or some kind of social engineering attack. Right? I was also reading some news these days. Just last week, I was reading a news. Do you guys know that you can actually buy a phishing kit for about $250? You can actually buy a phishing kit for $250. All you'll need is a VM. That's it. On the VM, you can buy this $250 phishing kit, install it, and you can start sending phishing emails. You can actually say, hey, here is a free ticket for, maybe Taylor Swift show. Someone trying to click this one are going to fall prey for it. So back in my days when I was working as a acting CISO for one of the fintechs in Bangalore, I used to do phishing simulation in my company just to test how aware are employees. And when I ran a phishing simulation, 66% of the employees actually clicked on it and then submitted their Aadhaar card and PAN card numbers. And out of this 66%, 6 out of 15 executives have actually submitted their Aadhaar card and PAN card. Executives, like board of directors, right? So along with the awareness, it's the phishing attacks that are becoming super smart, right? So how companies are trying to solve this? I was having a very good conversation with one of the attendees here some time back, and the question was, we are already building something in-house. So why is it important for Okta to solve it? Or why should someone consider Okta, right? Even before talking that, how are companies trying to solve this? Let's look at it. The first one is legacy solutions. I'm just going to continue using my on-prem solution that I already have. But the challenge there is they do not really help if you want to scale your business or you want to move to cloud. And the second one, you know what? I already have a legacy solution. I'm just going to build something on top of it. You're not basically solving the problem at the root level. You're adding a layer to it. That's something like a patchwork. You're not really solving the actual problem. And the third one is, you know what? I already, this is about the question, right? I already have enough engineering team. I'm just going to build it myself. Nobody agrees that building yourself a solution is a painful task unless it becomes a white elephant to manage. I worked with enterprises who try to build scalable solutions for log analysis. For the first 1 year, absolutely fine, working fantastic. The second year is when they realize, hey, you know what? This is really tough to manage because I'm going to have a lot of tech debt because I have to have 3 engineers dedicatedly working just to maintain the solution. Have any one of you tried to build something by yourself? Nobody's admitting it now that I gave that example. Yeah, nobody's admitting it. And the last one, which is the fourth one, point solutions. I have 3 problems. I identified 3 solutions. I'm just going to deploy 3 different tools, right? That's how you want to solve the problem. That becomes a painful task for the company, not just for the company, but also for the users, right? And I think Darren was also mentioning some time back, consolidating the solutions has become an implication for all the CIO and CISO community in India, right? So solving the problem with point solutions is not going to help you. With these traditional approaches, what you see, if I have to summarize this one, the fragmentation that gets spread across technology, security, and experience. It just gets spread across three different factors. three different most important factors, right? And let's take an example. Fragmentation of technology. Here is when your CFO comes to you and then says, hey, you know what? We need to cut down the costs. When your technology is completely fragmented, if your security is fragmented completely, it becomes so tough for you to cut down the costs when your CFO really needs your help. That's just one example out of this, right? And because all of this fragmentation with experience and then technology has impacted your identity or a rest of the cybersecurity, your security is also fragmented, right? It basically means weakened security postures within the company. How is Okta trying to solve this? All right. So in this situation, to ensure that you have a comprehensive identity security protection through a defense in depth strategy, right? And that's what you exactly need. So what are the specific contributions that Okta is doing, and how are we working with our customers to implement those solutions is what we'll talk about a little bit now. Okay. The vision of Okta, we started on this mission to help organizations leverage the power of identity to for any company, power of identity for helping the companies with their growth, productivity, and most importantly, secure the company's most important assets, which are basically their employees and customers, right? And that's the vision that Okta has started with, right? We really want the companies to harness the power of identity and enable anyone to use any technology safely. Anyone, any technology, but in the same time safely. Why is Okta unique in its own way? For three reasons. One, Okta is independent and neutral. We do not rely on one single technology. We work with almost 7,500 plus different partners so that we spread our tech ecosystem so that the customers also get the most benefit out of it. Because we don't want you to use the technology that we suggest you, but rather give the freedom to you to use the technology that you decided. We are ecosystem first. However, you want to use the identity security layer with the technology that you already have. Okta wants to ensure that the integrations are so deep into these technologies, like not just doing SSO, not just doing MFA, but go to an extent where we control the complete joiner mover lever scenario of it, like skim integrations, right? Or if you want to go for privileged access, that's the deep integrations that Okta attempt to do. And the last one is extensibility. In case if your companies are using a specific SDKs or libraries, we don't want you to force and then say, here is an SDK that you have to use Okta, but rather we give you the freedom to use any technology that you want. When you start using an identity approach like this, when you adopt an identity approach like this is the one which is giving you the freedom to secure every single touch point. Okta's identity layer, which is on the very top, is something that you're already seeing. But before login, Okta uses capabilities like identity security posture management or breach password protection for that matter to ensure we improve your security posture even before the login happens, even before the login. And during the login, we use capabilities like adaptive MFA, fourth generation bot detection, and fine-grained authorization to give right level of access for the right person to the right resource for the right amount of time. And the last one, after post login, here is where everything, like you let the person access one resource, a session is created, and that's it. You don't have the control on the session anymore. And that is where Okta has improved the way we secure identity by introducing something called as identity threat protection, where a session is monitored end-to-end as long as it is active. And we also enable universal logout. So in case if you find one session to be breached, we kill the session, and we also ensure that the session is killed across all the other applications who are already accessed based on this session. Universal logout, right? So moving ahead, I want to take a quick stab at the Okta's risk ecosystem that we already have. What do we do here is like 4 core capabilities, I would say. The first one is threat insights, basically ensuring that the suspicious IP-based attacks that are happening on the system are blocked way before anything is impacted in the systems. Behavioral detection. As part of sales team, I do a lot of travel. whenever I travel from Bangalore to Delhi or from Bangalore to Mumbai, Okta throws an additional multi-factor authentication at me. Why is that? Because at Okta, we also use Okta, by the way. It's called as Okta on Okta, right? We also use Okta. And whenever there's a travel that is happening, Okta is going to check my behavior and then say, Ganesh logged in from Bangalore for the last 10 authentications, but the 11th login seems to be from a different location. So I'm not sure. I want to ask Ganesh to prove Ganesh is Ganesh, right? And that's where the behavioral analysis picture point comes in. Risk-based authentication. Risk-based authentication is where adaptive multi-factor authentication that I already mentioned about. And the last one is the identity threat protection. Right? I want to focus on this risk ecosystem, which is complemented by Okta AI, and makes Okta the most powerful platform for the identity security. Right? So, to give you a few stats about this one, how this looks. For any language model to work at its best, there are two dimensions that are required for the data to be, right? Two dimensions of the data are most important. What are those? Anyone who gives me a right answer is going to get a swag. My marketing team is going to hate me for this. But yeah, the marketing team there is telling, no, don't do it, don't do it. No, I'm doing it. Two dimensions that are required in the data to make it work at its best for any language model. Who's going to answer me? I'll also give you a hint. Two V's. Two V's. Velocity may not be. Volume, someone said volume. Who said volume? There you go. Volume is someone said. Who else? Variety. Amit. Amit said variety. Okay. Volume and variety. Those are the two things. Right? Amit, should we even give you a gift? I don't think so, man. So volume and variety. Right? And that's the advantage Okta's model has. Because the volume, Okta is the largest independent enterprise identity provider. So the number of events that come to Okta system are huge, right? And to give you a simple example, with this amount of data that we already got, our risk engine was fueled so well that we actually blocked 3 billion suspicious requests in the last 30 days. 3 billion suspicious requests, right? And when it comes to variety, like I said, since we partner with best of the breed ecosystem, the diversity of signals that we get helps us deliver comprehensive security solution for our customers. And now let's look at the reality here. All you have is identity, and then people trying to access a set of resources through some devices, right? Obviously, they are going to set up some sessions. So if you look at what are the possibilities of different levels of risk that this user can have, the first one is even before login. Let's say someone stole your credentials, right? And that is addressed by Threat Insight, because we already know that if a hacker is trying to use your credentials from a suspicious IP, we're going to block it. And then it's possible that someone actually stole your credentials and then trying from a completely new IP. That's a login risk. A user logs in, and probably this bad actor is trying to also set a different kind of multi-factor authentication or delete the one that you already have. That's a complete login risk for us. And then comes the session risk, which includes device risk and also individual application level session risk. Because if a device is compromised, it's just not the device that got compromised. It's all the applications that are being accessed from that device that got compromised, right? And that's what brought an importance for Okta to build something called as an entity user risk. And entity user risk is a combination of session risk, login risk, and the Threat Insights pre-login risk. When all these three risks are together, rolled up into a single thing called as entity user risk, that gives us flexibility to deliver the best identity security for our customers. To summarize what identity threat protection does, shared signals pipeline, because like I said, we work with best of the breeds. So all the signals come into Okta, and then we share all those signals with our customers. Continuous assessment, even after the login is done, the session is continuously assessed. Universal logout, in case if we find the session is compromised, we log out the user across all the applications. Adaptive actions, just in case if universal logout is not supported by the destination resource, you can always build your own customization through Okta. And then the last one, identity threat analytics. The beauty of observability across everything that is happening within Okta system, right? At a very high level, that's what identity threat protection does. And where is this spread across? Okta has two products, Workforce Identity Cloud and Customer Identity Cloud. This identity threat protection part that I just mentioned is part of our Okta Identity platform and is a foundation layer across both of these products. With that, thank you so much. Those are my coordinates on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect, and we'll see you at Okta's booth. Thank you.